Welcome to BioGlobe. If you like this channel, please share and subscribe. Today we are going to discuss the topic ecosystem diversity. Myself Mohammad Jasil, Assistant Professor, Department of Microbiology, Marcus Arts and Science College, Adavanad. Ecosystem diversity. Ecosystem diversity deals with the variations in ecosystems within a geographical location and its overall impact on human existence and the environment. Ecological diversity is a type of biodiversity. It is the variation in the ecosystem found in a region or the variation in ecosystem over the whole planet. Biodiversity is important because it clears out our water, changes our climate, and provides us with food. These are the importance of biodiversity. Ecological diversity includes the variation in both terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems. Ecological diversity can also take into account the variation and the complexity of a biological community, including the number of different types, the number of trophic levels, and other ecological processes. An example of ecological diversity on a global scale would be the variation in ecosystems such as deserts, forests, grasslands, wetlands, and oceans. Ecological diversity is the large scale of biodiversity, and within each ecosystem, there is a great deal of both species and genetic diversity. Some examples of ecosystems that are rich in diversity are deserts, forests, large marine ecosystems, old growth forest, rainforest, tundra, coral reefs, and marine. The next point is that impacts of ecosystem diversity. Diversity in the ecosystem is significant to human existence for a variety of reasons. Ecosystem diversity boosts the availability of oxygen by the process of photosynthesis among plant organisms domiciled in the habitat. Diversity in an aquatic environment helps in the purification of water by plant varieties for use by humans. Diversity increases plant varieties which serve as a good source for medicines and herbs for human use. A lack of diversity in the ecosystem produces an opposite result. Classification of ecosystems. Ecosystems are classified mainly into four types. The first scientist known as Woodward in 1975 proposed the first of these four systems of classifications. These classifications can be approved by IUCN and UNESCO. Then, by using this classification, it recognizes 14 types of biogeographical biomes in the world. These biomes are further subdivided into 193 provinces. The 14 biomes are tropical humid forests, subtropical or temperate rainforest or woodlands, temperate needle forest or woodlands, temperate broadleaf forest, evergreen sclerophyllous forest, warm desert, semi-desert, tropical grasslands or savannas, temperate grasslands, mixed island systems, tundra communities, mixed mountain systems, and cold winter desert and lake systems. Various countries in the world possess one or more of these 14 biomes. Woodward's system covers only terrestrial vegetation, does not take into account the marine ecosystems and the interface between land and sea and freshwater and sea. Woodward's system covers only terrestrial vegetation but not covers marine ecosystems and the interface between land and sea and freshwater and sea. The second classification is one proposed by Bailey in 1989. This system uses three hierarchical levels for characterizing ecosystems. First one, domains, divisions, and provinces. The four domains recognized are polar, humid, temperate, dry, and humid tropical regions. The polar domain has 6 divisions. The humid temperate domain has 12 divisions, dry domain has 8 divisions, and humid tropical domain has 4 divisions. The third classification was proposed by Olson in 1983. The system contains 8 broad groups subdivided into 46 ecosystems distributed across the world. The fourth classification of ecosystems is proposed by Holdridge. It is the life zone classification. It is based on the chief environmental variables such as temperature, rainfall, and evapotranspiration and their effects on vegetation. These are the fourth level of classification. How do we measure the ecosystem diversity? That is measuring of ecosystem diversity. There is no authority index for measuring ecosystem diversity. It is often evaluated through the estimation of component species richness and species abundance. Species richness and species abundance are the two terms that is evaluated for the estimation of components of ecosystem diversity. If the component species of an ecosystem are more equally abundant, then the ecosystem is considered to be more diverse. Abundancy and diversity are very related. Often weight is given to the number of species in different class sizes. For example, herb, shrub, trees in a forest ecosystem, or planktons, multicellular filamentous plants, and macrophytes in an aquatic ecosystem at different trophic levels or in different taxonomic groups. Weight is given to the number of species is very important to determine the sizes of class. Then what are the major ecosystem types of the world? First one, tropical moist forest. Tropical moist forests are found between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. In the New World, these forests extend from Mexico south to the east coast of Brazil. In the African continent, such forests are present only along the coast of Guinea in the Zaire Basin and in the eastern region of Madagascar. In the Asian continent, they are found on the southern slopes of eastern Himalayas in southwestern India, that is Western Ghats, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, and New Guinea. In Australia, they are confined to a small narrow strip on its eastern coast. Tropical moist forests cover only 6 to 7% of Earth's surface. Tropical moist forests are often equated with rainforest. These forests contain a closed community of essentially but not exclusively broadleaf evergreen trees. These trees occur in two or more strata, that is forest piled upon forest. The ground vegetation is extensive and vines, lianas and epiphytes are more abundant in this ecosystem. A great variety of microbial populations, that is virus, bacteria, fungi and microalgae as well as bryophytes and pteridophytes is characteristics in this ecosystem. Tropical moist forests account for more than 50% and possibly as much as 90% of all non-plant species. For example, a 1 hectare plot in Amazon in Ecuador reportedly contains 473 different tree species. The second category is known as temperate forest. Temperate forests or woodlands occur mainly in northern hemisphere. They occur in the countries like Europe, Eastern Asia, Eastern North America as a narrow band along the Pacific coast of North and South America and on islands of New Zealand and Tasmania. Temperate forests are dominated by deciduous hardwood trees and to a lesser extent by evergreen broadleaf hardwood trees and conifers. Approximately more than 1,200 species of trees are reported in this type of forest, although Eastern Asia is the most diverse with the greatest number of species. Then next, arid and semi-arid ecosystems. The biological diversity in these ecosystems is rather poor and is influenced by water availability. The precipitation is extremely unpredictable in time and space as well as total amount. These ecosystems comprise drought evading, enduring and resisting taxa. This is the picture of that ecosystem. Then boreal forest. These are circumpolar biomes. It covers peatland in North America and Eurasia. Boreal forests are generally poor in terms of species richness, but the functional diversity of component species is very high. Example of boreal forest is taiga boreal forest. This is a picture of taiga boreal forest. Arctic and alpine systems. These are cold dominated ecosystems devoid of trees. They occupy about 8% of terrestrial surface of the earth with 5% in the Arctic region and 3% in alpine. These ecosystems support only about 4% of Earth's flora with 1,500 species in the Arctic zone and 10,000 in the alpine regions. This is a picture of Arctic ecosystem. Then this is the picture of alpine ecosystem. Then the next ecosystem is known as grasslands. Grasslands often form a natural vegetation on the land surface of the earth, occupying approximately 25%. Before human impact, they were believed to have covered 40% of Earth's surface. Grasslands to be 40% of Earth's surface before human impact. The grassland ecosystem is dominated by grass and grass-like species, although some areas are shrubby and herbaceous elements are present and trees are maybe present in some areas. Grasslands are known by different vernacular names throughout the world. Steppes in Eurasia, prairies in North America, Ilanos, Cerrados or Pampas in South America, savannas in Africa, and rangelands in Australia. Three important factors have been responsible for the evolution and maintenance of grassland ecosystem. What are the factors? First one drought, second one fire, and grazing by large ungulate herbivores as well as smaller ones. The maximum grassland plant communities usually attain under moderate grazing, especially where wet conditions and a long evolutionary history of herbivores exist. What are the classification of grasslands? Grasslands can be classified into three major categories. First one, natural grasslands. These have developed in areas where tree growth has been evolutionarily prevented and the climatic factors where browsing by wild herbivores has taken place over a very long period of time. This is the picture of a natural grasslands. Then second one, semi-natural grasslands. The vegetation is here to be unsown, but species composition and turnover are very strongly influenced by human pressures. Unsown means not having sown or not typical kinds of plants seeded on earth. Invariably, these are subjected to grazing by domesticated livestock. Semi-natural grasslands to be grazing by domesticated livestock. The species diversity is intermediate between natural grasslands and artificial grasslands. This is a picture of a semi-natural grasslands. Then artificial grasslands. The vegetation of these grasslands is the result of seeds sown by humans. These grasslands are intensely managed by humans and consequently biodiversity in terms of species richness is extremely poor in these areas. This is a picture of artificial grasslands. Then wetland ecosystems. According to Ramsar Convention, wetlands are the areas of marsh, fen, peatland or water, whether natural or artificial, permanent or temporary, with water that is static or flowing, fresh, blackish or salty, including areas of marine water, the depth of which at low tide does not exceed 6 meters. According to Ramsar Convention, wetland ecosystem does not concede or does not exceed 6 meters, or it is a natural or artificial or permanent or temporary, etc., or fresh, blackish or salty, etc. The other problem in wetland characterization is its highly dynamic nature, often changing with seasons and over a long periods of time, thus imposing problems in defining its boundaries with precision. According to Ramsar Convention, Ramsar sites is the wetland site Ramsar Convention is the convention introduced by protecting wetlands established in 1971. Freshwater wetlands. Freshwater wetlands are ecosystems that are affected by permanent or temporary inundation. Inundation means overflow. Then they play a crucial role in the regulation of water flow, water quality to all catchments. These are the key habitats for fauna, including migratory species, and provide refuge for fauna during droughts. Freshwater wetlands are highly productive environments that support an abundance of microinvertebrates, crustaceans, fish, frogs, and water birds. They have been altered dramatically by humans via draining and aeration of fertile soils into productive cropping lands or urban development. This is a picture of a freshwater wetlands. Then bogs. These can be defined as peat producing wetlands of moist climatic regions. Organic matter accumulates over a long periods without decomposing due to lack of slow activity of microbes. Water and nutrient input are entirely through precipitation in bogs. One of the important point is that organic matter is accumulated over a long periods of time without decomposing. Then since peat is abundant, the soil is acidic and nutrient deficient in the case of bogs. Sphagnum is the predominant taxonomy in box category. This is a picture of sphagnum. Then box, this is a picture of a box. Then fens. These are wetlands producing peats. In contrast to bogs, fens are influenced by soil nutrients flowing through the system. Fens are more prolific than bogs in terms of supporting vegetation. The dominant members of fens are grasses, sedges, and mosses. This is the picture of a fen. Then swamps. These are forested wetlands on waterlogged or inundated soils. There is no accumulation of peat in the case of swamps. Unlike bogs and fens, tree representatives are dominant in swamps. The very characteristic swamp of India occur in western Ghats with the species of Myristica is the predominant category. This is a picture of a swamp. And marshes. These are usually herbaceous swamps or mires. The grasses, sedges, reeds, and folktails usually dominate the vegetation. Marshes may be seasonal or permanent. This is a picture of a marsh. Floodplains. These are wetlands periodically flooded with water occurring alongside rivers or lakes. They vary considerably in vegetation. Then the second one, lakes. Lakes are open water bodies varying in depth from a few centimeters to several meters. This is a picture of a floodplain. Then this is a lake. And marine ecosystems. Biodiversity of the marine environment in general and of marine sediments in particular is very poorly known. True assessment of marine ecosystem diversity is very difficult because it's very complicated biogeography. We all know that marine ecosystem is a complicated biogeography. The true assessment is very difficult. The sea is also more uninterrupted and internally moving, which pose great problems for monitoring and inventorying its biodiversity. The sea is three-dimensional and more dynamic than inland. Then next, open sea and ocean. It covers 90% of Earth's habitable volume. This system is completely devoid of higher plants. The dominant components of biodiversity are planktons, of which the phytoplanktons account for the great productivity of oceans. The diversity of open sea phytoplankton is very poorly known. Then next, coastal marine system. The coastal marine ecosystem refers to the marine region extending from the upper tidal limits out across the continental shelf slope and rise. This includes rocky shores, sandy beaches, kelp forest, subtidal bandos, and water column over the shelf slope and rise. This is a picture of a good marine ecosystem. Then mangrove ecosystem. Mangroves are intertidal forested wetlands characteristically located in littoral, sheltered and low-lying tropical and subtropical coast. They dominated in river deltas, lagoons and estuarine complexes developed from terrigenous sediments. Mangroves are also found in islands. They are highly salt tolerant and various structural and physiological adaptations have been developed for these characteristics in different types of mangroves. Mangroves do not exhibit a uniform appearance. They may vary from extremely closed forest of 40 to 50-meter high trees in parts of South America and Sundarbans in Bangladesh to open forest with sparsely distributed trees to standard shrubs of less than 1 meter height. This is the picture of a mangrove. Then agroecosystems. Agroecosystems are those in which man has deliberately selected specific crop plants to replace the natural vegetation. Therefore, it is an artificial ecosystem. The artificiality and biodiversity seen in these systems vary enormously depending on the intensity of human intervention. Agroecosystems includes shifting cultivation, home and kitchen gardens, pastures, mixed farming, multiple cropping, horticulture, alley farming, cereal and pulse cropping, orchards and plantations, etc. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe.